Well, and that's part of it. Thank you for saying that. Make a difference. I grew up so just smothered and scared and surrounded by people who were miserable and suffering. And it was hard. And I lived 30 years like that. And I said, you know what? I am not going to spend the rest of my life being miserable. I am going to enjoy my life. Whatever life I have, God can kill me if he must. I'm going to enjoy the life I have. And I have worked on that. And it allowed me to do things that were scary, to go to events and throw myself in there and meet people that I didn't know and, you know, hook up in various ways, right? Sometimes sexually, sometimes play wise, sometimes sometimes intimating in other ways. Like it didn't matter. It was about the experience of the diversity of life and the world and other people.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from all over the world to hear their personal journeys of self-discovery through the lenses of love, sex, and relationships.
Our mission is to show people that they're not alone and to inspire them to embrace their true selves so that together we can open minds and live authentically without shame.
We believe everyone's story is powerful and beautiful, yet it's important to remember that everyone does life a little bit differently and that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we aren't doctors. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 428. We're Finn and Emma, and today we have a powerful conversation with WillowKat. We cover a lot of topics in this one: growing up as a Jehovah Witness, leaving the church, getting married at 19, and exploring non-monogamy for the first time, then having kids, going back into the church, leaving the church again, diving into kink and power dynamics, creating the polycule and chosen family of their dreams, and so much more.
More? How is there more? That's already a ton.
Yeah, there's a lot in this one.
Besides all of that, WillowKat does incredibly powerful work as well. WillowKat works alongside Dossie Easton at their 501c3 called Navigating Consent, where their stated goal is to move forward from wherever we may be today into a safer, saner, sexier, and more consensual future. If you're not familiar with Dossie Easton, she is best known for her appearances on episode 400 of our podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. Totally joking. She is the co-author of The Ethical Slut and a number of other foundational books alongside Janet Hardy. Anyway, WillowKat talks more about this work in the interview, but we wanted to let you know that the official dates for the next Navigating Consent series are February 21st through March 28th, and the program is virtual, so you can join from anywhere. WillowKat also does amazing work through the Alive programs, which are linked in the show notes along with the Navigating Consent, so you can learn more and sign up for both if you are interested.
Also, after the interview, WillowKat sticks around for the bonus questions that are released for our premium subscribers. These bonus questions are from different card decks, such as Where Shall We Begin?, Get Squirmy, the Non-Monogamy card game, and Chat Sparks. The questions can be serious, sexy, playful, etc. We go wherever the conversation takes us. To listen, join the premium subscription by going over to our website and scrolling down on the homepage. There you can sign up for just $4 a month. As a premium subscriber, you also get access to ad-free content. And now let's jump into the interview with WillowKat for our premium subscribers. And for anyone else, we're going to go through a few announcements.
First announcement is about our community. If you're not familiar yet, we lead a community of over 300 people socializing and supporting one another every single day. We host our community on a platform called Mighty Networks. We have monthly community support Zoom calls, monthly virtual workshops, and in-person events, all for less than $10 a month. Our next monthly workshop is coming up on February 12th. It is called Grieving Queer, and it is going to be led by Dr. Melissa DeLizia and Lauren Carroll. We're super excited about this one. Actually, we just had our January workshop last week.
It was super fun.
It was amazing. We had over 30 people on the call, and it was such a great conversation and such a great support. So we would love to have you come join us in February for the workshop. And one other perk that you get as a member of our community is you get access to that premium subscription we were telling you about earlier. So you can listen to the bonus content and you get ad-free listening. So again, you get all of this for less than $10 a month. To sign up and learn more, you can head over to our website and click on the community tab. All of the information is there. You can also find links to the workshops tab, which has all of the workshops that are coming up for the rest of this year, plus all of the workshops that we had in 2024 and 2025, which you get access to the recordings of as a community member. Wow, that was a lot.
That was a lot.
But that's because you get a lot.
Next up, we also wanted to tell all of you about some fun events we have coming up. And to be clear, you don't need to be a member of our community or the premium subscription to join either of these events. They are open to the public. The first is our virtual speed friending is coming back January 22nd. That's tomorrow. There's still time to sign up, and we would love to have you come join us and meet like-minded people from around the world in a low-pressure and fun environment. To sign up, go over to our website, click on the banner at the top of the page, or on the events tab and find out more.
The other event we've got coming up we're super excited about is happening May 1st to the 3rd. That's less than 4 months from now. We are gathering just outside Orlando, Florida for a weekend packed with games, play, and connection. We're collaborating with the team from Multi-Amory, and we're bringing in a strategic play consultant named Gary Ware to create an incredible weekend to bring everybody together and really harness the power of play to nourish and strengthen our relationships. We're calling this event Relationship Recess. You can learn all about it over on our website by clicking on the events tab or by using the direct link in the show notes. There's not a better time to grab your tickets because prices do go up on February 1st. So head over, check it out, grab your tickets, and come join us. We'll see you in May.
And next up, we love to remind all of you about our favorite way to get tested for STIs. That's right. You heard it right. We do have a favorite way to get tested for STIs.
And if you try STD Check, you will too.
It is stdcheck.com. It is a service that Finn and I use. We've been using it for years. It is discreet and efficient. And using the links over on the resources tab of our website saves you $10, making a 10-panel test only $129. And you support the podcast as well. So thank you in advance for using those links and for knowing your sexual health status.
And the last thing we wanted to tell you all is that we would love to hear from you. Please send us an email. You can find out how to do that over on the Contact Us tab. We would love to have you come on the podcast and share your story, just like WillowKat did today. Or if you have any comments, questions, or feedback for us, you are more than welcome to send those our way as well.
And with that, let's go and talk with WillowKat.
Welcome to the podcast, Miss WillowKat or WillowKat. We're going to be using both today. So welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. We're excited to chat. Actually, I met you not too long ago through Dossie. So through Dossie Easton, you two do work together. And we got recommended to have you on the show. And we're just excited to have you here today. So
yes, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to dig into your story and also a bit about your work. So maybe let's just kick off with having you introduce yourself, and we'll talk a little bit about the incredible work you do, and then we'll dive into your story.
Okay, great. So the work I'm doing right now, I'm working with Dossie Easton, like you said, the author of The Ethical Slut and other things. And we have a nonprofit that is called The Ethical Slut Presents Navigating Consent. And we have 2 tracks in that where we work with people about surviving or experiencing boundary violations, either whether you have or you're afraid about it and wanting to know how to protect yourself and take care of yourself, and also nurture yourself afterwards and how to maybe navigate those difficult conversations when you've been harmed by somebody. And then we have a about transgressing track where we talk about what happens when I have violated somebody, or I'm afraid I might, or somebody says I did and I don't understand it. So we look at it from both sides, and those are 2 6-week courses. And so we meet once a week on Zoom, and we have a new one coming up that will have the details in the intro, I hear.
Yes.
And so we're really excited about it. This is work we've been doing since 2018. Dossie and I are co-presidents of our Navigating Consent project.
Wonderful.
Yes, it's amazing.
Well, links are going to be in the show notes. And as you said, there's a new 6-week course coming up on about surviving, correct? And that will be sometime in mid to late February.
Yes.
By the time this is coming out.
And it'll be on Saturday. We know it's going to be on Saturday.
Okay, perfect. So if you're hearing us talk about this, go to the show notes. You'll see the exact dates. They're posted there and where you can sign up and register for all of that as well. And you mentioned as well, I think when you and I talked, that these are sort of a pay what you can or no one turned away for lack of fund models. So
exactly. So we have a suggested donation and no one turned away for lack of funds. We want this to be really accessible to people.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, thank you for that. And also you've got some other incredible work you do as well, correct?
Yeah. I have another project that I've been working with even longer. I actually started facilitating with the Alive program, which was developed by Hamish Sinclair. He did diversion work in the 80s with domestic violence perpetrators. And he went into prisons and he dealt with people on parole. And he did these court assigned cases where he worked with people to notice and stop their violence and practice intimacy skills. And I found his program back in 2011 or 12, and I was just on it. I loved it. It was so awesome. And I started using it in my personal life and with my personal relationships. And then I got an opportunity to work with Hamish himself. So I spent 3 years under his tutelage and learning to facilitate his program and developing my own version. So now, since I started working with Dossie in 2018, my program Consent Alive got folded in under Navigating Consent's auspices. And I hold a weekly group for about surviving and about transgressing.
Wow, amazing.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
we're excited to shout it out and share these resources because cannot have enough
you.
around this. So thank you for
Yeah.
the work you do.
Yes.
And that happens on Zoom too. So it's very accessible for people no matter where you are.
Perfect.
Wonderful.
Perfect.
Wonderful. And yes, again, reminder to listeners that all of the links to everything we're talking about is in the podcast show notes. And we'd love you, WillowKat, to talk a little bit about who you are.
Mm, Great.
Introduce
Thank
yourself
you.
at whatever level you're comfortable with.
Well, I was raised a Jehovah's Witness, so I am very comfortable talking about myself. I was raised to preach and teach the word by a zealous father. So I have a lot of skills in that area, and I'm a Leo, so I'm super comfortable with, just chatting. So stop me if I get too off topic. What I thought might be fun to think about first was my relationship sort of orientation and style, how
Yeah.
I do my poly. The vision I've always had is that I wanted to have a polycule. I didn't always have that word, that came much later, but that concept of multiple people with different levels of intimacy with me and with each other, and but that we take care of each other, we help each other, that we survive in the world together, because I was raised to be take care of your family, take care of your community. Jehovah's Witnesses are very like preaching the word of taking care of each other as a community. And I wanted that. And I wanted it. I didn't understand why sex shouldn't be part of that if that worked in a particular relationship. Doesn't mean it has to. It doesn't mean a relationship is less important if it's not sexual, right? I have some very important core relationships that I would do anything I could for these people, including Jossie, right?
Mhm.
That's not about sex. Then I have my core polyfidelitous triad, and my triad also, one of us is with my lady wife, has a partner, and they have a partner together, that's collared to the two of them. So they she's so cute. She wears both of their collars now. That just happened. Her collaring to Madam happened just a few weeks ago, 3 months ago, something like that.
Wow.
So, but we've all been together for a long time, now. It's been like not 8, 9 years for the two newest parts, and then Madam and Dave and I have been, well, she's been with both of us for since 2008, but we've been all with each other since 2013 when she had a massive stroke, and we came together and put aside our differences so that we could take care of her. And so I take care of her most of the time. She's with me, and then she goes and visits him and their girlfriend as often as we can arrange it. So she just went up there yesterday. So I'm off duty.
You're off duty. Amazing. So just to clarify, so you are in a polyfidelitous triad, and we'll come back to that in a moment for anybody who's not
Uh-huh.
familiar with the term polyfidelitous. But then
Mhm.
also one of your partners has multiple two. It sounds like two other. They're sort of in another triad as well.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. My lady wife, we got married in 2020, but we've been together since 2008.
Okay.
And the stroke was in 2013. So um, we, how do I, we have been closest of intimates, play partners. She's my madam in learning how to whip. She used to suspend me, and we had this amazing, like, I am her warrior knight. I take care of her. I've taken care of her since the beginning, right? That was immediately I took it on. We
Yeah.
have that dynamic, and she's my lady. And when she had her stroke, me and the boyfriend had to work it out because we both loved her and neither of us was leaving her. And she insisted she couldn't even hardly talk. Like when she first had the stroke, she really almost couldn't talk. But she told me she wanted to go to his house and she wanted him to take care of her. And for a couple weeks, whatever it was, Christmas, she wanted to go. And I was like, he can't take care of you. He doesn't know what he's doing. You don't know what you're da 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 da. Like I was on her ass. And she was just like, yeah. So I was like, okay, fine. Yes, it's your life. You get to do what you want. So I took her to the boyfriend's and him and I barely spoke to each other, but we did the pass off. And he took care of her. He almost died, but he took care of her. And I was just amazed. And he was amazed. We made up at that moment. It was like that was our epiphany for each other. Is he saw what I was doing to take care of her because he took care of her. And I saw him take care of her. And I never thought he would have done that. And he stuck around all these years. He took her just this weekend, you know? So it was really a loving, growing moment between us as metamors, and we've been off again, on again, different things, but mostly as metamors and companions in taking care of her, you know, and loving her.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a testament in choosing the relationships you want to be in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times when people think of non-monogamy or polyamory, they don't necessarily think about this part of it, right? That what you might be doing is more of a caregiver than wild and crazy sex all the time, and that you might have to bridge differences with metamors and friends or family members to step above some of that to be there for somebody in a way that maybe you wouldn't normally have to, or you maybe wouldn't have had you not had to navigate
Hell no.
something.
There's no way I would have done that if it hadn't been for this. Him and I were oil and water, man.
How
We're
how
too much
long?
alike. The problem is she has a type and we're both the same, but we're
Okay.
you know, he's a manly man and
Yeah.
I'm
So
traumatized by
sometimes,
manly men.
yeah, opposites attract, right? And that can be real. Well, I'm curious, how long were you and her? I mean, how long were the three of you sort of in this dynamic before you had to sort of come together in this new way?
Yeah, so, like, 2008 is when she got together with him about 6 months before she got together with me. We both
Okay.
met I actually met him the second day I met her. I had gone to, Exiles, which is a San Francisco leather women's group. I had seen them at Pride. I had gone to their novice night, right, which Madam was doing a whips booth, right, and I saw her across the room in these tight pants and these boots, and she was strutting around, whipping people, and I was just like, "Oh my god. Oh, I wanna try that." And so I went the opposite direction, and, because it was kinda scary. So I went all the way around the room and looked at all the other things first, and then I got to her, and I'm standing there, and I'm watching her. She's working with somebody else, and the way she worked with them was so sensitive and she's so good with novices, and she's able to just gently introduce people to the experience of the whip. And it was so beautiful watching her with somebody else that I had this huge safety, and I was able to tell her what I wanted. And I said, I want to, experience it and I want to throw it, right? I want to do both. And she's like, okay, what do you want to do first? And I said, well, I better feel it first. I want to know what I'm about to do to somebody. And she goes, oh, you're going to be a good top. Okay. And then she starts whipping me, right? And she does this. It's like a butterfly kiss, right? It's such a gentle, gentle stroke. And I was melting. Oh my God. It was so scary, but I was just it was an amazing erotic experience for me. And I had never experienced that before. But I loved whips from the time I was like 5 years old and watching Indiana Jones. And, like I loved it. And so she came up to me and she goes, she's checking in, right? Are you okay? And she touches me and she goes, oh, you liked that. I was like, yeah, I did. And from that moment on, like we were connected. That was it. We just,
Wow.
it was
A
amazing.
fantastic origin story.
Yes, 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 and it
Yes,
sounds
we
like
have a
because
great meeting story.
yes, yes,
Yeah, I
and
love it.
with that, her other partner came came with you, with her. So like
Well, okay, so that day we sat and talked for the whole rest of the evening till the thing closed down. And I helped her pack up her stuff and she said, "Well, why don't you come meet me next weekend? It's Story Alley," which is a San Francisco thing here that's it's fun. Everybody comes out and dresses in their leather and stuff. And so she was hanging out at the organizer's booth because she was on Folsom Street Fair, the board of directors at the time. And so she was hanging out with them and she invited me to come hang out with her. So I did. And Dave showed up with this other person at the time. And he hooked up. He's like, they had just met like a few months before and met each other a couple of times. So I met him that second day. And she was fascinated by him. She was all about the boyfriend, right? And so we became best friends right away. We talked all the time. We talked constantly. And so she was telling me all about all the travails with the Dave, right? So all the ups and downs, all the ins and outs. We used to say, "Can we get out of Dave's ass for just a minute? I really want to talk about something else. I have something I need to say." She would be like, "Okay, okay, let's go. Tell me what you want."
I love that.
So I knew all about him, but I didn't get along with him. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I love that. Hanging out with somebody who's an NRE is an experience. Let's
Absolutely. And she was really gone on him.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious, Willow, when imagine coming up raised as a Jehovah's Witness, this was not part of
I'm
your
gonna
teaching?
before you go down that road,
Yeah?
I wanna come back to we told the listeners we would come back to the word
Oh,
polyfidelitis,
polyfidelis.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
and I wanna touch on that first and then go down that road
All right. A quick how what does polyfidelis mean? And then
to you.
yeah, when and how do you make when does this come into your world being raised as a Jehovah's Witness? So, yeah. So first polyfidelity.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, that's a jump in my brain. All right.
Yep, yep.
Polyfidelitous, to me, means that I have a poly group who are sexually exclusive with each other, and we don't
Okay.
have sex outside that circle. Now, that's why it's a polycule because Madam
Mhm,
does have sex with Dave and the girlfriend that they have up there, and
mhm.
that's another relatively closed circle. I don't know, they may muck around a little bit, but
Yeah.
that's all right. I'm not worried about that. I'm more concerned that on my side, my sexual relationships are confined within my wife and my other partner.
Okay.
And because I am not this was something I wanted to talk about too. I really need to go slow at this point because I have set up something very complex. It's my vision, it's what I wanted, it's working, it's powerful, and it also involves real life stuff like caregiving. Like
Mm,
my partners, both of them have significant disabilities, and I have come into the role of being caregiver for both of them. And I'm happy to do that, like, that was something I was raised to do, and it means that adding anybody else sexually is gonna be a very complicated question, and I'm not saying I would never do it, but it needs to happen because the moment and the person is absolutely right and perfect, and we'll bring that in. If I'm looking for somebody or open to somebody else, then it puts off a vibe in the world, and people want to come in, and it brings that complicating energy. So if I say, "Nope, I'm polyfidelitous, the circle's closed," then if something happens, that's fine, but it's gonna happen because it's really perfect.
yeah.
I can't
Yeah,
have stuff disrupting my complex world.
yeah. You only have so much energy.
I do, that's right, and I'm doing a lot of work. Like, to me, a lot of my sexual energy is going into my artwork, into my writing, into my passion of my teaching. I'm holding classes twice a week. I'm doing classes twice a year, in the navigating stuff. So, it's a lot, and to do all that, like, it takes so much of my creative, sexual, passionate energy, which is great, like, I love that. I don't need to have sex all the time. I'm 55 years old. I've had a lot of sex. It's alright. I love the passion and zest that I'm able to bring to my projects and my work and my art right now. So,
Mhm.
having a closed circle is much simpler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love that, and I love too that you said, right, that you've sort of built your dream dynamic, your dream
Mhm.
scenario,
Mhm.
and I can understand that then, like, I don't want to mess with it,
Yeah,
right?
feeling
Like,
protective of that,
yeah,
right?
I've built what I
Yes.
want and I'm going to
Yes.
protect it at all costs.
It's working. Let's not mess with it.
Yeah, let's not fuck with this. Why not?
I know. I've been through a lot to get here. This is good.
Love it. Well, then let's maybe talk about what you went through to get here. So
All
maybe
right.
backing up to when and how did you first become exposed to either kink or non-monogamy or the sort of the cornucopia we're talking about
Yeah.
here today?
Yeah, for sure. So my sexual life began extremely early and not in a way that was consensual. I The earliest memories I have are of having an experience I always remembered happening with two boys that were older than me. And so I was engaging in sexual activity when I was 5 is what I can remember, right? I know I have some markers that I can remember that I was 5, and it felt old then, like, so it had been going on a long time, and I was being raised a witness, so as a witness, they are very, adamant about and I would call them very sex negative, right? They wouldn't say that, but I would. They're, very controlling about sex and very rigid about what's allowed and what's clean and unclean behavior is what they would call it. And I knew that what was happening with these boys was unclean behavior. Like they're very clear. And I was 5 years old and I understood, right? And my father actually, as this zealous preacher that he was, um, I remember he was telling me I wasn't going to go to kindergarten because he wanted another year with me at home, blah, blah, blah. So I wouldn't be exposed to the world too soon because the stakes are very high. And he said there's a lot of pressure in the world for girls like my sisters who are running around having sex all over the place to act out sexually. And I need you to understand that. And he had me sitting in his lap, right? And we were very close. I loved my daddy, right? He was very tender with me. I was his little girl, right? But he sat there and I will never ever forget this. And he told me, if you were to sin in a sexual way in ancient Israel, what would happen is God said that the parents had to drag their daughter out to the edge of the village, and everyone at the village, starting with the parents, would pick up big rocks. And he held his hand like this. He goes, and throw them at you until you died.
Wow.
So at 5 years old, I was very clear where my father stood. And he said, "And if God told me to do that today, I would do it." And God through the organization, because God means Jehovah's Witness organization. And he
Mhm,
said, "Right now, they don't tell us to kill people. I'm not told to kill my daughter. I am told to shun you." He didn't say shun, disfellowship. It means
mhm.
shun. Treat you as though you are dead.
Wow.
So at 5 years old, I'm sitting with this reality that I'm having sex. Wasn't penetrative sex, but still. And my father would kill me for it.
Jesus. Yeah.
And I'm like, so the problem I had with this is I was a very logical child, right? And I was very verbal. And so I was like, why? Why is this worth killing me over? Why is this so horrible? I mean, I didn't like things about it. They were stinky boys. I didn't think that was okay, right? I didn't really like how they treated me, but I loved how they were with each other. I looked at them and I was like, "Oh my god, they're best friends. They're so cool. They're so cute. Look at how they are with each other. I love that. If they were just nice to me, this would be really fun." You know? So I had
Yeah.
this vision for poly and
Mhm.
triads and that triadic energy and that compersion of how beautiful it was to watch them be intimate with each other. And this just it was like I heard Dossie talk about the dirty words and how that didn't make sense to her, how words could be dirty, right? I had the same thing with sex being dirty, being an unclean activity. It was like, why? Why does putting your mouth on a penis worse than putting your mouth on an arm or a hand or, a cheek?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
why? And God's gonna kill me for this? My dad's gonna
Right.
kill me for this? And then I knew I don't really like boys, right? I'm not interested in boys. I like girls. I had a crush on a girl when I started kindergarten at 6. Oh my god, I followed her around for 3 years. I would do anything she wanted because she was just so cool. She was like a baseball player. She was like a pitcher. She had a fastball like you wouldn't believe, and I thought she was sexy as hell, you know? I didn't do anything about it, but I knew it. So I had all this sin that I was experiencing. But at the same time, I had this vision of another way of being, and I couldn't understand why that was wrong. So fast forward, I was 18. I met my first husband, my only husband. Um, and he started talking to me about poly, right? We didn't have the words poly back then, but he started talking to me about ethical non-monogamy. I don't really understand why it's wrong if everybody's honest for people to, have more than one relationship. And I was like, yeah, that. And he's all, and I also, kind of think girls with girls is pretty sexy. And I'm like, yeah, me too. So I had this person that I could talk to about this and who I could explore it. And so I ran off and married him when I was 19.
And
And
was he a Jehovah Witness as well?
no, 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 no,
Okay.
not at all.
Okay.
That's why I picked him.
Yeah.
And that was
I
a
had a
sin, and I
feeling.
wasn't supposed to do that, and, that was all bad. But I ran off. We ran off to Reno at midnight and got through a snowstorm and got married. And, uh, and so we immediately jumped into he got a girlfriend, we were sleeping with her, it was like, I was exploring all this, but then I got pregnant. And I was like, "Oh, I gotta decide about this religion thing. I can't I hadn't decided they were wrong. I was so frustrated that I just left and did some stuff. But then I was like, I can't let my kid be killed because I'm a sinner, right? They're full of pictures of mothers and babies dying in Armageddon and stuff. So I was like, I can't do that. So I went back and I wound up with 2 kids, and 10 years later, I had moved next to my parents, and then we left them and came to Arizona, and
So you went back to the church? Just
I
I was
did.
just okay, so did you leave your husband at that point, or
Well,
did you and
so he came we were together for 15 years.
okay,
He became converted because when my second child was born, we had moved, we had bought a house and we're living next to my parents. And because we were
okay.
3 doors down from my parents, I was like, "We have to do this." And he was like, "I'll get baptized. It'll make your father lay off, your family will be happy." So he got baptized. He never liked it. He always was like sitting on the side of me, just, talking shit.
And did you 2 then pause any,
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
extracurricular
yeah, yeah.
explorations? Okay,
Well, actually, now that I think of it, no, there was one girl, she was there was my best friend and the witnesses. She really wanted to explore sex with girls and her bisexuality, and, so we fucked around it was right at the end, just before I was getting ready to leave,
Okay.
and so we fucked around a couple times, but then she went and turned herself in and got disfellowshipped, and all kinds of bad shit happened to her because she confessed, and I was like, "Dude, I told you, you don't wanna do this. You feel too guilty about it." So yeah, there was one more while we were in, but,
yeah.
mostly no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wow. I mean, it just shows how strong that pull is, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it sounds like at that point in your probably early 20s, somewhere in there,
Yeah.
to still at that point feel like you have to go back, you have to confess, all of that
Oh,
still,
yeah, yeah. Oh,
I'm
it's
sure you're
brainwashed in, man. It's
yeah.
really intense.
Well, and I'm
Mhm.
sure you're not
Um,
the only one who's sat on their father's lap and been told that you would
right,
be stoned to
Right.
death by your own
right,
dad if you did this. Like,
right,
how
right.
intensely traumatic that would
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It
Wow.
was
And then you had 2 kids
yeah,
yourself that you needed to
right.
protect.
That's
Yeah.
right, and that's why I wound up leaving, actually. My kids were getting to be almost teenagers. I'm like, "My kids are never gonna do this. They fucking hate this. I hate this shit. I don't wanna do it." And by that point, so he was very instrumental in helping me get out. So that's a whole
Your
other long
ex-husband?
story. Yeah,
Yeah.
so he really helped me when I was ready. He was very patient, and when I was ready, he provided me with the information that he had already vetted, so it wasn't angry, it was very logical, it was very dispassionate, and, so I was able to break the mental hold that they had on me. And I really credit him with giving me that space and that support to do that. That was really powerful. And then the second I got out, I wrote my dad a letter and I said, "Okay, I'm leaving. And I'm a polyamorous bisexual. And, just so you know, I've got a girlfriend."
Wow. Yeah.
Because I was just like, "No, no, no. I'm done. And I am not going back. And you might as well know all the things." Because, yeah, if I'm not doing this for you, I am not doing this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so
Yeah.
it sounds like at that point you were fairly clear about I mean, had your vision started to come together in terms of what you were wanting?
Well, so the problem with that vision is he had a somewhat different vision. It was related, but it was different, and that's one of the
Your
reasons that we wound up
ex-husband. Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons we wound up ultimately separating. That's a complicated story, and that's one of those ones that's not
Yeah.
mine to tell, but,
Mhm.
um, so yeah, but my kids and I came to San Francisco at that point when I separated. And the first couple of years I was working and trying to figure out. I mean, I'd never worked like that. I wasn't allowed to have a job. I wasn't supposed to have money or resources, right? So it was hard leaving the cult. It was really a big deal to figure out and then leaving him to
Yeah.
figure out like I had been married since I was 19. I had been a
Yeah.
stay-at-home mom and homeschooling mother for that entire time. You
Yeah.
know, I
And at that point, you're telling your parents everything, and likely did you get shunned by them?
oh, I had been yeah, that
Yeah.
had already happened.
And
3 years before I left him, I
and
had
then
told
okay, you
them
got
yeah,
out, yeah. You got
yeah,
out, and then
and
you
mhm,
left your ex-husband, and then you were really,
that's
like,
right.
really having thrown into life of, like, "Now what do I do?
That's right.
How do I do
That's right.
this?"
That's right, and I moved to the Bay Area, and I had 2 kids to support and 2 dogs, and I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna work." And
Yeah.
so I was working and stuff. I did not have time for I did have one relationship, but it was something that was just we were good friends and fuck buddies and able to see each other in moments around my kids and stuff. So,
Mhm.
not with my kids, but when my kids were not around.
Yep.
Mhm.
Um, and then she wound up actually being a really important person in my daughter's life. And they have wound up because she wound up living with me and my daughter. My son had gone to live with his father, and she wound up living with me and my daughter. So she really helped me for a while with the last years of my daughter being at home. And then when we split up, she and my daughter stayed very connected. And so to this day, she's her second mom, my daughter
Mhm.
says.
Wow.
So, that even though our romantic relationship is not happening anymore, we're still friends, we still talk, and she's still very important in my daughter's life.
Mhm.
Amazing. Yeah, I
Mhm.
love that. I love that, this is a thread we hear so often is the difference when people transition relationships in polyamory, it can, transition rather than be like, you're done, you're out. We have to
Right.
now, disown each other, never talk to each other, and we can
I've
only
always
speak.
hated that.
Yeah.
I've never understood that at all. That's in so much pop culture that, that exact dynamic that you have no choice except for either you're passionately in love and together or you're totally nothing to each other and stay away.
Mhm.
Yep.
Why? My
Yeah.
exes are some of my most important community. Like, I have a whole, like, group of people that I am not sexual with anymore, but we have important connections and supports that we provide each other.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, if nothing else, other than a connection to your past and to who you were and
Yeah.
And some
and how
good
you
things have
got there.
happened between us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. The memories and
I always love Dossie talks about how relationships ending does not mean it failed,
yeah,
right? Sometimes ending is the transition that needs to happen for everybody's greatest good, and that sometimes it's sad or hard or painful, and that doesn't mean that that person has to be your enemy.
yeah,
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. So where did it go from there?
So, I did want to jump back and share one thing. We had a girlfriend that lived with us for about a year and a half while we were still together and after I had left the witnesses. So, as soon as I left the witnesses, I jumped. He, his, this, this actually best friend of his from high school showed up on our doorstep where we were living. We were living with his mom at that time, and he, he had a girlfriend. And we hooked up once with the 4 of us. We were talking about poly. We had just discovered poly. So as soon as we left, he found Loving More magazine and got it for me, and I was just, "Oh my god." And so I was reading all the Loving More, and I was on their email list, and I was, like, absorbing poly through my pores. And she shows up. We had 1 or 2 dates or 3 dates or something, had sex a couple times, and then they broke up and she came with us. It was like, "Okay." And so she lived with us for a year and a half, and the 3 of us slept in a big king size bed, and, I loved that. That's one thing I love about triads is I love the puppy pile, cuddly aspects of more than one person, more than two people.
Mhm.
Um, and so that was really, and she loved that too. That was really nice. Her and I really cuddled. He was like, touch me. I don't want people touching me all over my body. So we had a king size bed. So he would be over here and she and I would be like welded together.
And so she was so just to get that straight, so your husband at the time's best friend showed up sort of at your doorstep, and he
Yes,
had a
Adam
had a
too.
girlfriend at the time,
Yeah.
and the four of you kind of fooled around a little bit, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
they separated,
Mhm.
and
She came
she
with you.
literally stuck around in your bed to you.
That's right. She
So okay,
moved into our bed.
perfect. Very convenient. Like you said, sometimes you just find it. These things
You
find
do.
you
It just
sometimes.
showed up on our doorstep. What could we do? And we were like, oh, okay.
It would be rude to not right?
Exactly. This is a gift from the gods. What can I say? So so that was fun and complicated and, it difficult. Like, she had a lot of struggles with jealousy, right? So this is what I wanted to share about. She had, and she, like, I will say, she worked hard and she tried hard, that girl. She really wanted to figure it out. And I was happy, like, I was mostly very welcoming to her. I wanted her to be there. I didn't I've always had this primarily experience of compersion. I like triads. I like multiple people. I am a exhibitionist and a voyeur. I like all that. And so I very rarely have experienced jealousy. So I was actually kind of having a hard time. Like, I was trying to be compassionate. I was trying to be empathetic and I was trying to, let her, process or whatever she needed to do. But I wasn't that clear about it. Like, I did not understand what her fucking problem was. I'm like, "Look, dude, you can play with him. I am fine. I have girlfriends over here that I am trying to hook up with. I got the Pride Center. We're on the board. I'm exploring the lesbian side of my life. I don't need him on my ass all the time. Please take him. It's okay." And I did not have a problem. But this one time, I we had decided that we were gonna have, because we all slept in one bed, right? She wanted to have private time with him, and I wanted to have some private time with him too. We've been together a long time, and, that I noticed, like, okay, we should have some intimate time that's just us. So we made this plan, but we didn't set a time, right? We had no end time for when the sex was going to stop. And I didn't realize that we hadn't set a time, but I'm sitting out there in the living room doing my thing. I got my journal, my books, whatever. I'm doing my stuff. And then I wanted to go to bed. And it was like 10 o'clock or whatever. And I was like, why aren't they out yet? And I was like, the time is up. Why aren't they out? The time is, I had made this time up in my brain, but it was, I got freaked out. I started crying and I was upset and sad and afraid and hurting, and I was just flooded with this intense experience of jealousy that I had never felt before in my entire life. And I was like, "Whoa, this is weird." And then they finally did come out, like 40, 35 minutes, I don't know, a little while later. They came out and he goes for the kitchen and getting something to drink and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, right. That's what he's doing. She notices that I'm upset and that something's not okay. And she comes over to the couch and she, "Oh, what's wrong? What's wrong?" And she puts her arms around me and she hugs me. "What's wrong?" And so I told her, I don't know what I told her. I don't remember, but, "You gotta come over here," she says. "She's not okay." And so he comes rushing up. "What's the matter?" He's like, he didn't expect me to be upset. I was usually cool with all this. And so he was very, he was willing to be comforting too. But so we talked about it. We made a plan, right? We're going to have time limits. That's what we're going to do. We're going to say it's 2 hours and then everybody will know when it begins and when it ends. And she loved it, right? Because she had a lot of insecurity. It was really hard for her when I was the one in the room. So she was ecstatic that I wanted time limits. And I was like, right on, let's do time limits. Couple 3 weeks of that, and we didn't need to worry about it anymore. All of us felt better. Both of us, she and I both relaxed about it, and it became much less of an issue and much more of a relaxed thing, but we needed that. I needed to know that they cared that I was upset. I needed to know that they were willing to do something to adjust so that I could feel better. And it really helped her because it gave a structure for her that she could hang on to. She really did well with structure. I'm usually a fly by the seat of my pants. I don't do a lot of structure. So I didn't really understand that in the beginning. I wasn't thinking of it. And she was afraid to ask for it because I'm the wife, right? I'm the mother of the children. I have seniority. Not that I would have cared, like, I would have been fine with setting it up, it just didn't occur to me.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting, and it gave me this empathy in jealousy that I've never forgotten. It was a very
Mhm.
powerful moment, and, I mean, I'm not saying I've never ever felt jealous again, but that was the most intense.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it sounds like after you put the plan, the structure in place, it was, and I'm just curious, was it like rigid for a couple weeks and then it sort of relaxed and nobody was
That's what I
checking?
remember,
Yeah.
yeah, is that it was really strict for a little while. Maybe it was I don't remember how long. It seems like a short period of time.
Sure. Sure.
And then
Mhm.
we just all relaxed, and
Yeah.
it got much softer, and we didn't have repeats of that, and she relaxed, like, it became easier for her when I was in, and
Yeah.
she started having some things that she wanted to do,
Mhm.
without him. Because before she had been, like, really, really wanting his attention all the time. She had a lot of
Yeah.
high need for his attention.
Yeah.
And I was fine, but he was kinda like, "Oh, this is getting old."
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
hard when somebody is,
So hard.
Yeah.
very attached and trying
Yeah.
to navigate that.
Yeah.
Well, and these are really tough things to navigate if you've never done it before, right?
That's
You're
right.
like you
Yeah.
said, you're sort of in
Even when
somebody
you've done it
else's.
before, it's hard.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. I mean,
it
you're
is.
like you said, you're sort of in somebody else's home. You're trying not to step on their toes or what can I ask for? What can I not? If you've never done this,
Yeah.
and even like you said, Emma, even if you have, that
Mhm.
doesn't mean it's just easy to go up and ask
No,
for these things. And
Mhm.
it
that's
really
right.
sounds like you bringing this up sort of opened up the conversation for everybody. Like it was like the dam
Yeah,
broke and everybody was like,
Mhm.
yeah,
"Oh, we can talk about these things. You're human. You also
yeah.
feel the jealousy that I've felt and felt maybe
Right,
bad about feeling." So it sounds like it
right.
really unlocked a whole lot for the 3 of you.
It really did, and for her and I especially, because that me experiencing jealousy for the first time when she had been struggling so much with it, and being
Yeah.
vulnerable with me about that. She had talked to me about it. I mean, we processed a lot. We were all
Mhm.
talkers, so we did a lot of processing. But, she felt, and I'm sure she's not wrong, that I had some judgmentalness in me about it, like some
Mhm.
attitude in my
Mhm.
eyebrows or whatever in how I was dealing with her about it. So her being able to see me fall apart about that was really good for her. It really helped her feel like you said, it humanized me for her. Like, it's like, "Oh, okay, you can feel this too."
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That you can feel something that's human
Yeah.
Yeah, right,
and
and
have
that
that
she was really
experience.
feeling so often, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Well, I think too, it normalizes jealousy, right? That it's
Mhm.
this
Right.
is a thing we try to tell people as much as we can is it's just another feeling. It's like joy, it's like happiness, it's like that. It's just you feel it, you don't necessarily get to control it. I think
Right.
It's
I
not
think you don't
always
get to control
fun.
it at all. It just kind of it happens to
Right.
us. Yeah,
Right.
Mhm.
It's an
Mhm.
intense experience, or that one
Yes.
was anyways.
Yeah.
without a doubt.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So fast forwarding a little bit, you
Yeah.
mentioned you moved to you that relationship ended
Mhm.
and both of those relationships ended, it
Yeah.
sounded like. And then
All of us
yeah,
separated,
all of
yeah.
it. Mhm. And
Mhm.
then you moved to the Bay Area and
Mm,
worked a lot, had a couple small relationships, it sounds like. And then
mhm.
how did it evolve?
Yeah, so I dabbled around. I had a few, especially as my daughter got older and was kind of moving out and doing her own thing. I started dating, and for me, I had some, I mean, I 6 months, 8 months, a year, a couple of years, of single poly, right? That's what I was doing at the time. I was looking for my family. So that's where I knew what I wanted, but I also knew that I needed to find it carefully because it was going to
Mhm.
be something that I was going to be stitching together, something complex, right? This is a intimate network of interpersonal support, right? Like real support. I knew I was in my late 30s at that point, and I had been a caregiver for my whole life. So I knew, and at that point, I was doing caregiving professionally. I knew, and death doula work, so I was working with people in end of life issues. And so I knew that I needed to think about the next 20 years, right? What is my life going to be like as I'm getting older? What is my life going to be like as me and other people I might be with are aging and dying? And how can the world doesn't support us. The world doesn't like us. We are not a popular way to be. So, at least that was my experience. And so I was thinking about what makes that community for me? What do I want out of that community? And then I was just meeting people and going to events and doing things. I went to all kinds of things, everything I could, everything I could afford. Um, I was diving into leather and leather conferences and volunteering all over the place. And I did a lot of volunteering because I'm like, well, I know how to work. So I don't necessarily know how to date. That witnesses did not prepare me for, but I do know how to work. And so I would jump in and help everywhere I could and then hook up with the people that I liked, that I met, that were doing work. And so I've always been drawn to other hard workers, you know? So I met Madame Butterfly and she and I became best friends and our relationship slowly has evolved over time. But we in 2000 that was in 2008 and that was really like became this sort of linchpin around. I had another partner that I was nesting with, the one that was stayed connected to my daughter, but the one with Madame Butterfly is the one that really sort of my other relationships coalesced around. And especially once she had the stroke and my priority became, I committed to her. You will not, as long as I live and am able, you will never be in a facility, right? That's like her worst nightmare. And she would have to be in a facility if it wasn't for me taking care of her. And so I'm like, well, okay, so now my priority is I have to have a family that will support that. You know, I'm not going to be able to do it by myself forever. Like that's not going to work. And we're only 10 years apart. Like I'm getting old too. It's going to it's going to be complicated and I need to make sure that I have a support system that's going to do that. And then I also still want to do my work in the world. Like my passion for and that's started in 2011 where I had gotten a bunch of therapy, I had done a bunch of personal process and growth work, and I realized that as much as I love our community, there's still a lot of violence out there. There's a lot
Mhm.
of ways that people are hurting each other and tearing each other apart with judgments and assumptions and miscommunications and, you know, this tangle of stuff that's so hard and people don't necessarily know how to do it. So, on the one hand, I'm working on building up my family. And on the other hand, I'm noticing that my work in the world is coalescing into, I mean, I always knew I wanted to help people who were escaping cults. Like I knew that I wanted to, that was so huge for me. That was such a huge piece of work for me to untangle my mind from the brainwashing that I experienced. And part of doing that helped me untangle the violence and assumptions of what I call the superior role belief system, or those racism, classism, sexism, you know, all the isms that we other each other with and
Mhm.
separate from other people and judge other people, and so much miscommunication and confusion happens around. I was like, "I wanna do what I can to help. I want that to be better, and I don't know what I can do, but I'm gonna do my best to figure it out." So on the one hand, I'm looking for my family, on the other hand, I'm looking for how I can do this powerful work in the world. And when I found the Alive program, I committed myself to that, as one element that I could do. And so I learned facilitation and I started my groups. And so I've been doing that since the groups I've been doing since 2015, I think. Well, and my okay, so I had a triad at that time. So I had hooked up with this couple who had been in a DS collared relationship. It had blown up. It was really messy, and but they were still together, and they were trying to figure it out. And I wound up hooked up with the two of them and working with them to try. And so we did lots of dialoguing. I was the mediator for the two of them, so I was constantly like processing with them about their stuff. And we worked through all kinds of things to the point where they were able to separate in a way that was good for both of them. And but in the meantime, before they separated, we were together for several years. And in that time, we ran for a title and we won International Power Exchange. And it's a teaching title that we were the first triad to ever win. And you traveled around, you committed to traveling around in the United States and outside. It's international. So as much as you could do teaching. and that you would do at least 3. We went to several places, including Canada and Texas and Virginia, or Connecticut or something. I don't remember. We went all over the place. And it was great. It was fantastic. And it was so intense and powerful. And we taught about poly dynamics. We taught about communication between poly group and with power exchange involved, and how to manage power exchange consensually, and how to work when it's complicated. Like, we did a lot of really teaching some, I find, really fun topics, they're
Yeah, yeah.
messy
So,
guts of what it looks like to be in poly power exchange.
wow, for sure. And it's so you just to clarify, so you were sort of helping them as like a mediator and then
Mhm.
also part of the dynamic as well?
I became both of their collared they were both collared to me.
Okay.
So, they had broken up, they were no longer collared to each other, but they were still living together when I got together, and I got together with one of them first, and then about a year later got together with the other one. So, for a while, we were in a V, and
Okay.
then me and the other person hooked up, and then at first, they revisited the collar, and my partner at the time, before Renelle and I were together, she was wearing my collar and Renelle's collar. And then we switched it to where they were both wearing my collar, and they weren't collared to each other, but they were both wearing mine.
Okay.
And
Yeah. And just in case anyone's not familiar that's listening, how would you explain what the collar signifies?
yeah, so the collar, there are some people who, we like to call them S types, right? They like to be on the surrender side, the submissive side, the being instructed side. They want to have a container or a guidance or whatever. And there's lots of ways to structure it. For us, one of them, it was more of a, she was on a spiritual path, and I was her priestess, and I was working with her, holding her for accountability and process and structure for her to get herself figured out of what she wanted to do from that point forward, like how she wanted to structure her future relationships, how her boundaries needed to be, what, all that kind of stuff. So I was giving her a
Mhm.
lot of structure around that. The other one very strongly identifies as a switch, and both a master and a slave energy. And so they actually had another collared person that had been part of their dynamic briefly. They had had a triad that blew up very messy and bad and horrible. And so actually that other person came in, and we started doing some process. We had a live program, a Temple Alive, we called it, with the family for a year, with Hamish, the facilitator, working with us so that we could work on some of these issues. So, like, it wound up that Renelle and Judith went off and became, collared together and living together now. They've been living together for several years, 8 years, 9, 8 years, almost 9 years they've been living together now. And then the other one was settled in her own house and is happy and getting her stuff all organized and developing relationships she wants. So it was really helpful for everyone. It was a very intensely emotionally messy situation that I came in and worked with everybody, practiced my negotiation skills and my nurturing supportive skills of relationship processing. Um
And I'm curious on your end then, what I guess what was fulfilling about that for you?
Well, so I was practicing those things. Those are things I
Mm.
have come to do in community now, and I do it in other bigger ways. Navigating consent, the work I do now, and the live program work I do now is all informed by what I did in that microcosm of our family.
Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
me, I was honing my skills, and I knew that I was helping them, right? I was
Yeah.
supporting them to get to a healthier, more stable place than where they were when I found them.
Yeah.
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 As you were sort of living it as
And
well.
I also got a lot of physical support. Like, I got to live with them, including right after Madam had her stroke. We were just coming together, actually. And Madam and I both lived with the 2 of them in Arn's house, right? It was her house.
Mhm.
They supported us financially in a lot of ways. They would cook for us, and they would take care of Madam so I could go do other things, including take care of other people who were dying. So it was a very supportive,
Yeah.
nurturing environment. And we nested together very well for a long time. We
Mhm.
managed
Mhm.
for a long time, and it was quite a blessing in our
Mhm.
life. that time period.
Yeah.
And then we transitioned away, and that's when I moved in. Madam and I moved in with Abby, who had separated from a violent relationship. And so she came and got a place, and we moved in with her, and it became this very clear very quickly that she and I were extremely compatible. We are very, 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 like, I imagine being with her for the rest of my life, and she or the rest of hers, whichever shall come first.
Mhm, mhm.
Because
Yeah.
we're so just intrinsically compatible in so many ways,
So,
and
yeah,
she
so the 2 of you
is.
live together now?
Yes, with Madam,
Yes.
of course.
With Madam, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
When Madam's
and we
not
all live at
with
Madam's
with
house,
Dave.
actually. We've moved to San Francisco now, and we live in Madam's
Okay.
house.
Okay, okay. That's beautiful, I love it.
Yeah.
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 I love that. And I love, you, like you said at the beginning of this conversation, that you sort of always had this vision. And just in hearing you tell your story today, it's sort of, to me, it seems like there wasn't a point where it just happened. It was like little bits in here you would like, oh, I learned a little bit about this over here. And then you just sort of like, that comes with you. And then later on, you add on another piece. And okay, now I'm going to practice sort of being in this triad and working with the people in it. And I'm learning and they're learning. And then that's another piece. And like, I hear it just sort of like slowly evolving rather than one day you just wake up and you're like, here it is. I
Right.
landed in it. Like you slowly create it over time.
Yeah, no, it was a very slow process with a lot of, and I'm a talker, so I always am, like, processing with my people, and I hook up with people who are willing to do that with me, right? I'm not
Mhm.
interested in being somebody who doesn't wanna talk. That's not a good fit. Um, so we really have a lot of intimate conversations about what are we looking for? What is our passion in life? What are we seeking? What's gonna be fulfilling for us, and how can we help and support each other in living and thriving? And so, Abby came in, and she is our third on the board for navigating consent. She does the Treasury Secretary stuff. She keeps track of all our bits and pieces, our money and our practical stuff and our technology and all those things. She has a significant, struggle physically now, but she's able to do um a lot for us to keep. She keeps all Madam's medical paperwork moving and insurance
Mhm.
taken care of, and all those bits and pieces that I hate dealing with.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
so grateful.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like
It
all of
is.
you together makes a pretty badass team.
Exactly. Well, and we
Yeah.
recently have had a couple of community members move in. One of them's on hospice, or right on the edge of hospice, but they're helping us enormously. They're helping us sort and organize and clean, and the house needs a lot of work. So that's part of the community too. We feed each other when we get sick or take each other to the doctor. I have um, several elders in my life that are in the community. One of them is Dossie. Another one's my mentor from when I was learning the pro dom work, which I did for a while. I still do occasionally for a couple clients. And we're gonna build a dungeon here. Um, Madam still loves to throw her 8-foot bull whip, so we gotta have some space.
Wow. Amazing. I love that.
We wanna live
Yeah.
our life. We're having as much fun as possible. I'm a artist and a painter, and so I have a studio I'm getting set up in the back, and, so I'm passionately in love with life, and I am building a strong polycule family to live that life with.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's amazing. I love it. I love it. And something you kind of touched on a little bit that I don't know, maybe just to talk about for a moment, is you were saying when you were starting to meet people and start to build this community, it wasn't, I mean, probably apps weren't necessarily a thing at that point, but it wasn't like, let's get online, let's go explicitly seek out people to date or hook up with. It was, I want to do this work. I'm going to get involved. And then through my involvement, I meet people. And I just wanted to just throw that out there to anybody listening who's saying, man, being on all these different apps, swiping sucks my soul out. And this is the
Um,
worst. Yes. And I think to hear this, and this is the thing we tell people so often, is like, get involved,
yeah,
volunteer at places. And that's not to say,
absolutely.
volunteer to hook up with people. Like, you don't want to show up on your first day of volunteering like it's a meat market, But
Right.
show up again, show up week
Right.
after week, month after month, and you will meet.
Show up and do work,
Show up
right?
and do the
Like,
work, and
really
you will
do
meet
work.
people.
You
Exactly.
will meet people.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the only way I know how to do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You get to make a difference and, meet people and build community and
Well, and
yeah.
that's part of it. Thank you for saying that. Make a difference. I grew up so just smothered and scared and surrounded by people who were miserable and suffering, and it was hard. And I lived 30 years like that. And I said, "You know what? I am not going to spend the rest of my life being miserable. I am going to enjoy my life. Whatever life I have, God can kill me if he must. I am going to enjoy the life I have."
Mhm.
And I have. I have worked on that, and it allowed me to do things that were scary, to go to events and throw myself in there and meet people that I didn't know and, you know, hook up in various ways, right? Sometimes sexually,
Mhm.
sometimes play-wise, sometimes it's sometimes intimating in other ways, like, it didn't matter. It was about the experience of the diversity of life and
Mhm.
the world and other people, and if I could travel, I would love to travel more. That's one thing, and Madam would love to come with me. I just gotta get our shit organized at home so that we can take off and go do some things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just love you expanding on that a bit because I think that is right. It's not just about getting out there and like you said, hooking up. It's yeah, there's that, sure, but there's so many other ways you can connect with people. And we've met people who they've found new careers, they found all sorts, living situations, anything you can imagine,
Mhm.
because they went and volunteered to help set up something or tear
Mhm.
something down or check
Right,
people in at the door. And you don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know who's going to come
right,
through that door. You don't know who you're going to be paired up to volunteer with. And we've seen some of the wildest things come out of those. So I
Yeah.
just throw in some weight behind, get involved, make a
yeah,
difference, and the rest will follow. It might not be day
yeah,
one or even day
right,
50,
Yeah.
right.
but but yeah.
And do it with a excited spirit, right? Do it with
Yep.
an
Yep.
energy of adventure, right? Because I've seen a lot of people come and show up at volunteer stuff and they're just like, "Oh, never meet anybody. Oh, all I'm doing is working," and they're stumping around looking pissed off. And it's like, well, yeah,
You're not
you're
gonna
not
meet
going
many
to like
people that
that.
way either.
Yep.
No,
Yeah,
you're really
exactly.
not. People don't like that, like,
Yeah.
get in
Yeah.
there and do it with some act like you're happy to be there, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Love
Yeah.
that.
It
Yeah.
makes a
Yeah.
big difference to the
It
energy
sure
that
does.
you put out there and the energy that you'll receive back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just keep showing up places.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you so much for everything you've shared today. It's been such a wonderful conversation, and I've loved talking to you and getting to know you. I'm curious, is there anything else that you wanted to make sure to get out there today?
yeah, I actually let me see. I have Dossie and I talked about this actually
Love
before
that.
I went over. She was having trouble with her phone last night, so I drove out to her
Mm.
house and helped her get back functional with her phone, and we talked about this, so I was like, "Okay." There was one thing I wanted to share that's really fun. The, whipping scene. This is one of the most powerful cathartic experiences I've ever had in my life. The first time I went to Desire, which was way back in, like, 2009 or something like that, and, Desire is a women's leather conference that's in a bought out hotel, right? This little hotel in Palm Springs that is so it's hot and there's pool and it's great. Everybody's naked all the time because it's totally enclosed. And so there's many shenanigans. And I knew I was going, and my parents at the time were living in Palm Springs. Now, mind you, my parents don't talk to me, right? At that point, not much. And so I had gone, I knew if I was going to be in the town, I was going to be triggered. Like, there's no way, because this is 2009, right? I had just left in 2000. So I was only 9 years out. It
Mm.
was still really, really intense for me at that time. I mean, it's been 25 years now. It's softened some. But back then, it was really painful. And I knew if I was going to be in the town with them, I was going to be triggered. And so I planned a, whipping scene with Madam that she was going to whip me. And my other partner at the time, my nesting partner at the time, was going to hold me while we had gone together to the event. She was going to hold me while the whipping happened. And she was going to go with me while I went to see my parents. So I went to my dad's work. I brought him some of my art. We talked a little bit. And then he told my mother I was coming. I went to my mother's house. And my mother made me go in the backyard. She wouldn't let my partner in. My partner stood in the street watching. She
Wow.
took me in the backyard. First, she tells me I had to sit outside and I couldn't come in the house. And so we talked for a little while. She was dithering around. We talked a little bit. And then finally she goes, "Oh, well, I guess you can come in." So she let me in the house and I got to look at some pictures and whatever, her new house. I hadn't seen her house. And so I was over there for about an hour. So all of that was really shitty and hard and triggering. And I was upset and I knew I would be. And so I went into the Friday of the event, the first day of the event. And that night, we had this scene by torchlight, right? And she's holding me, my partner's holding me, and Madam is whipping me. And I was crying and just all this pain that I had from the day and my parents and the shunning and all the things that were going on for me emotionally came out in this enormous cathartic, energetic release and crying and stuff. And then they held me afterwards. And I mean, there was a trigger and that was complicated. And, there was things afterwards that we had to process. But for me, that was so powerful and it was so deep and it drew this stuff up. And then I spent that weekend, I went out, she took me out in chains and handed me to Daddy Crone to fuck me on the table and then took me over here to do this. And I mean, it was great. I got to experience my S side and my, like all the because I had been chained by the witnesses, right? So I got to experience shackles. She brought these big iron manacles that she put on my wrists and ankles and took me out naked slave girl to be fucked by somebody of her choice. I was like, oh, ooh la la, right on. It was so fun. And we had a blast and the weekend was amazing. And I did my first hook pull that weekend. I mean, it was just incredible. And the reason it was incredible is because I was conscious of what was gonna be really hard and really painful for me, and I found a way to fold that in to what I was doing, and my people I was with nurtured me through that, and so that was
Mhm.
just beautiful and amazing, and I wanted to share that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you did. I'm so glad you shared, and, what a powerful way to kinda reclaim
Yeah,
that, right?
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what it felt like. I was claiming my sexuality, I was claiming my independence, I was claiming my freedom from the shackles of the past,
Mhm.
and embracing the shackles of the moment.
Yeah. Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that as well,
Yeah.
WillowKat.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the other thing that Dossie and I were talking about, though, navigating consent and alive programs have some core beliefs that we felt like are really important to be clear where we're coming from for people. So equality is the root, the most strong root that we have is that we are all equal. We are all humans. We all come to the table and diversity is powerful. That's our strength. So honoring that differences that exist among us as much as the similarities and that space for everybody, no matter who they are, to come together. And that the third piece of that is that change is always possible. People can choose to change. We can support that change. And that our violence, our superior stories, our cycles of the isms come from training. We're taught this as young children in a society that is got these violences inherent. But the good news about that is because we were taught it's a skill. We can learn something else. We can put that skill down and we can pick up another one. And so that's what we're here to do, both in navigating consent tracks and the weekly work groups is we want to be part of that change. We're here to support equalizing and consent practices, noticing and stopping our violence, being that social change, supporting that social change one person at a time. So that's really something that we want to make sure is clear that we share. And also that we talk a lot about shame in our classes. We talk about the difference between shame and guilt. And the way we define it, shame is being bad for who you are, being a bad person, and guilt is having done a bad thing. having done
Mm-hmm.
something that harmed somebody or something. And so we really work with people to soften that shame story, to let shame go, because to us, shame is not helping us. Shame is part of the problem because it's telling us that we are inherently bad and that there's nothing we can do about it. We're born bad. That's what my family would say. We're born sinners.
Mm-hmm.
And so to have that transition into saying we're born equal and valuable and precious, and that we can plant these seeds, right? We don't know what people are going to take from it. We don't do diversion programs. People are not assigned by the court to come to us. They're here because they want to learn. They want to find something different. They're scared they're going to hurt somebody or they have been hurt. And so we're here to plant seeds, right? We're one program among many. We're here to plant seeds. And we have no idea where they're going to go. We've met people years later who've taken the program who are like, oh my God, I learned this thing and this is fantastic. Right. And we're just like, oh, you learned something that you've taken and you've continued to use. That's so awesome. Right. So we're here
Yeah.
to say that you can change, you can learn. There are skills, they are practicable, they're concrete, and we are offering space in a nurturing community to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yes.
I love
Yes.
that. And one of the things I love about the work that you and Dossie are doing with this is, the program you said that's coming up in February is the about survivors, but
Yes.
you are also not isolating the people who have maybe messed up, right? Or
Right.
are really afraid to. And that's another group
Right.
of people I've talked to a lot, not
Right.
exclusively, but particularly in a lot of like the men's groups I'm in, is there's this level of fear of like, I don't want to move because
Right.
I don't want to hurt somebody and I'm not
Yeah.
necessarily sure how to move without accidentally doing that, right? And so
Mhm.
I think knowing that there are resources and support out there for people when when we make mistakes, because I think if you're living in this way, you're going to make mistakes. We're
Right.
human,
Mm-hmm.
and to
We all do.
right, and when you do, to not just be isolated, ostracized,
Yeah.
and cast
Right.
out, but
It
what can
doesn't
we
solve
do?
our problem if we throw a bunch
Right.
of violent people out because then they're roaming around doing God knows what, you know?
Right.
And
Elsewhere.
that doesn't help.
Right,
It
right.
doesn't
Yeah.
fix the problem in my body,
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, well, and finding, and I think, right, we see this, right, where then they're going to find one another,
Right.
and that's good, but also it can then perpetuate it, right? That maybe
Right.
there's the anger, there's the feelings of,
Mhm.
Well,
all the
right, that's the
resentment.
other problem, the resentment and the pain that the
Yeah,
people feel
Yeah.
because now they're being ostracized. Like,
Yep.
of all people, I really understand what it feels like to be shunned and what it feels
Yeah.
like to be ostracized. So I get it, how powerful that tool is, and I am afraid about the level of willingness that some people are showing right now in our community to throw people away and to just say,
yeah,
"No, they just need to be gone forever." And I'm
Mhm.
like, I am afraid about that. That really, to me, that is a a a choice to be made extremely cautiously and for really, really good reason. Like, yeah, there are some people who are dedicated predators. I have known some of them, and I was birthed by some of them. You know, like my father
Mhm.
was a cult leader. Like, I get it. There are some people who are committed to their path. But much more, many, many more people are just doing the best they can, and they're trying to figure out what they're doing that isn't working or what they might do that could get them in trouble. And I really have a lot of empathy for that. I have been there, I have done that. I have fucked up many a time, and I know how important it is and vulnerable and scary it is to look at transgression, to look at the
Mhm.
ways I have harmed other people, including my
Mhm.
yeah,
children.
Mhm.
Right?
yeah,
That's a
Mhm.
very scary, vulnerable place to be. So that's why I'm so committed to doing this work because I
Yeah.
want to provide as much safety as I can for that process.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you,
Yes.
and
Thank
for
you.
thanks
Yes.
for talking a bit more about it. So yeah,
Yeah, and again, links will be in the show notes to everything so that people can find out more and join the workshops
Yeah.
and learn more about everything that you're doing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to I would love to see more people come. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Same here. Well, thank you
And we'll do a
again.
transgressor track too about transgressing pretty soon. I'm going to try and schedule one shortly after. So it's 6 weeks for the about surviving, and then hopefully within a month or so I'll be able to start the next track.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, and again, maybe you're listening to this in 2026, 7, whenever. If you miss this one, there will be more.
Yes.
Right.
There will be
keep
more.
your-
We generally do it twice a year, both tracks twice a
Yep.
year. And navigate,
Perfect.
and the live program happens every week.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Willow,
Yes.
for coming on.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your hosting me.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And we're back. Thank you so much, WillowKat, for coming on and sharing your story. It was absolutely wonderful to chat with you, and we're excited to get this out there.
Yeah, and thank you again for all the incredible work you do. A
Yes.
quick reminder, anybody listening, the dates for the next Navigating Consent series are February 21st through March 28th on Saturday afternoons. Again, you can learn more and sign up over on the website that is linked in the podcast show notes. Also, a quick reminder, if you are one of our premium subscribers, WillowKat sticks around to answer some fun questions. And if you're not one of our premium subscribers, it only takes about 37 seconds to sign up.
Yes.
And then you can get access to the premium subscription, ad-free listening, and the bonus questions from WillowKat.
Yes, you can sign up over on the homepage of our website. And we wanted to remind you of a couple of upcoming dates. The first is tomorrow. That's January 22nd, 2026, is our next virtual speed friending event. You can sign up over on our website by clicking on the events tab or at the banner at the top of the page. These are open to anyone. You just must be open-minded and respectful. We would love to have you come join us.
And then we'd love to have you get on an airplane or maybe in a car and drive
Yes.
over to us. Maybe a boat. You
Maybe.
can come by boat if you want. To our next in-person event, May 1st to the 3rd, outside Orlando, Florida, called Relationship Recess. You can find out more over on our website by clicking on the events tab. All of the information is there. Grab your tickets before February 1st. Price is going up.
Yes. And next week, we have an interview. Actually, we have a special Friday drop.
Oh, I didn't know we were going to tell people. I thought we were going to surprise them. Well, hey, if you happen to be here, no surprises for
If you happen to be listening at this point, we clearly didn't get on the same page about this.
So what we wanted to tell you, listeners, is that we love you, and there is an episode coming up on Friday.
There's a special release.
Yeah, with Gary Ware, who we told you about earlier. He's the strategic play consultant who is helping us bring Relationship Recess to all of you. So we'll see you back here on Friday.
And then next week, we'll bring another interview to all of you. This one's with James. It's incredible. James is actually going to be with us at Relationship Recess, so that's super cool.
He's flying all the way from Australia.
Yeah, come on.
So if you can't make it, well, no
Right,
excuses.
right,
No excuses.
right.
All right, we'll see everybody next week. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your week and are staying warm out there.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.